Hey there, Postal here. So today we're taking out the Yak-3 on request. This plane I actually quite like, although it's got some huge weaknesses that need to be discussed. First of all, what is the Yak-3? Well, it is a Tier 7 Soviet fighter that finally gets some firepower, but let's not get too excited about it. You've got great maneuverability. But you've got to keep in mind the the other enemy turn fighters of this tier: Spitfire 9, A7M, and a Key 84. Those planes all still have better guns than you, even the Spitfire 9. You do have one 23mm cannon on the hub and two 20mm cannons synchronized. It is nice to have centrally located cannons, but they're still relatively low on the damage output. As you can see here, trying to knock out a heavy fighter. And like the A7M and the Spitfire 9, you've got some pretty low overall airspeed. And really, really bad altitude performance. Spitfire 9 is definitely better on the altitude performance range. And so really what it comes down to is you need to be mindful of what planes you're going for. Oh, I totally went for the wrong frickin' sector. Wasn't paying any attention at all there. We're in a Tier 7 battle. They've got an Me-265, which could conceivably tear us up with its rear gunner. This plane isn't specialized, so even though it's technically base faster than a Spitfire 9, I believe, and it's got to be faster than an A7M, it's still slow as can be. And so we need to be mindful of, going from sector to sector and how we're attacking enemy planes, because it's going to take us forever sometimes to do anything. Well, unfortunately, the enemy seems, me going for the sector I went for completely screwed up our chances here, and we've got a long way to go before we are able to get a win here. Doubly unfortunately, my cannons have overheated, and so they're taking forever to actually kill anything. Lots of tapping. Can't hold down the trigger here. We need everybody else to go there. I can't get the mining facility, but I can get the command center, so let's see if I can. Tap, tap, tap. Got a mosquito. The mosquito's going away. I'm not going to go chasing a mosquito. It's asinine. I don't have the airspeed. The fact I'm at 370 miles an hour is awesome, because it doesn't happen very often. Getting to 300 miles an hour can be a daunting task. So we've sent everybody else to the mining facility precisely because I can't do anything about a mining facility, but I can do something about command center. So now that that's been taken care of, we're going to send everybody there again. I'm assuming our yep, he is. The Me-265 person is over here heading to the center. Normally I would try to go for this garrison over there, but I need to kind of play defense a little bit. I can't let this 265 just get everything he wants to get, as he's clearly doing. Mosquito? I really want to go for a mosquito? The other thing about this plane is it has a very, very weak airframe. Like, basically everything knocks out its everything. I'm okay with that, because I know that if I can maneuver like the Dickens, I can hopefully have a positive impact on the battle. There we go. Let's see if I can... Oh, shoot. Yes, large... Yes. And apparently nobody can attack and take over a mining facility. So unfortunately we've lost this simply because our bots can't actually capture sectors. Which is kind of a shame, but it is what it is. I can't chase down the J4M. Let's see if I can get some heal going on here, and it looks like I can. So I'll probably get a decent amount of personal points here, but not going to be able to get the win, just simply because we're not able to, and I'm not in a plane that can get a mining facility kind of situation. So
The enemy is about to win. Push harder.
GG's, sir, GG's. Got him. Luckily he'd already dropped his bombs, but I'd already seen that, so that's why I was behind him at such low altitude. Could have easily done some sort of bomb drop. Don't have the airspeed to stick with that guy. Again, my team just can't capture a mining facility for the life of us. Oh well. So let's soak this up and try to get all the personal points we can get. Again, just kind of tapping here so that way I don't fully overheat and lock up my cannons, but they want to. You can see them getting red. There's so many enemies here. But this game's over in just a second here. Whoa. Not that quickly. Let me get a couple more kills here, sir. See, my guns have completely overheated now. Oh, if he's gonna turn though, I was gonna say I should be able to get that kill. And one more.
There's no way to break through here now. You're on your own.
Let's see if I can't get rid of this guy one last time. Nope.
You've done what you could. Go back to base.
Oh yeah, unfortunately just not able to do what needed to be done there. Well, I did what my plane can do. I suppose the only other thing I could have possibly done would have been to go to the mining facility and try to kill whatever was killing our bombers, but I highly doubt I'd be able to do that based on the altitude performance of the Yak-3. Let's head back. Alright, so 18 kills there. Couldn't even get a postal medal, much less an ace. A bunch of capture points simply from defending, capturing back the points that the enemy had captured from us. My clearly don't play this plane enough. Accelerate the crew training. Thank you. Yeah. And so, that kind of showed you this first battle what, a lot of the downfalls of this plane are, as far as its ability to actually capture sectors. It can hold on to a sector pretty well, but actually capturing them, especially things like mining facilities, you have no air-to-ground capabilities on this plane. Maybe knocking out tents, but even that's going to be difficult with the weaknesses of this plane. However, that being said, this did highlight the strengths of this plane, and that is really a sector owner. Once the sector is owned by you, it can do very well at keeping it. Keep in mind, it's not the best at taking down ground attackers, and it is absolutely the worst at taking on bombers. The altitude performance of the Yak-3, like most of the mid to low tier Soviet turn fighters, is incredibly poor. I think the only thing that might be worse than it at this tier is the A7M. Let's check. Even that is the same, actually. And so, yeah, that kind of tells you that just how bad the altitude performance of the Yak-7 is. So the one thing that the Yak-3 has over the A7M or the Spitfire 9 is its guns are centrally located. The Japanese and British turn fighters have their cannons on the wings. Yeah, they can hold more cannons. They can do more damage output. But there is something to be said about having your cannons centrally located. You can get them on target a little bit quicker. So that can help in certain situations. But overall, the Yak-3 is, I'm going to say it's a step up from the Tier 5 and Tier 6. And I don't mean that just in tier-wise. I do think it's a better overall plane. It can finally do a little bit of punching. But let's not get overly excited, right? You definitely need to focus on the maneuverability first and foremost on this plane. I have, as far as equipment is concerned, it only starts off with 2. One's on the guns, which of course you're going to put the gun sight. There's absolutely no reason to put the cockpit armor on this plane. The other item I recommend is the lightweight wing frame. Any kind of speed percentage that you get out of this plane is going to be secondary to the maneuverability. This type of plane fully relies on its maneuverability, especially early on. You're never going to, with your equipment and with the ability to set up, you're never going to be of a reasonable airspeed. And so, don't use your equipment on airspeed and before you've specialized it, especially. Focus on that maneuverability. Your job is really to dodge the incoming fire. That's all you can really do in this plane. The airframe is pretty weak. You don't want to get hit in the first place. Don't get the engine knocked out all that often, but the wings, I constantly get knocked out on this plane. And building it you just don't have the resources to build it for survivability. So build it for maneuverability and see what you can do in that regard. As far as my pilot is concerned, I just have a 5-point pilot, but there's one specific skill that you need to have on this plane. Any of the Yak line fighters, they catch on fire quite a bit. Firefighter skill is really important. The way the firefighter skill works, and it's 1 point, is if you're actively maneuvering, your pilot's basically putting out the fire with the active maneuvering. Basically, if you're turning a lot and you're on fire, that's going to put the fire out. Well, you're in a Yak, you're going to be turning a lot. And if you're not, you can be turning a lot very quickly and putting out a fire. So firefighter skill point is a necessity for the Yak fighter line. Also, I'd recommend it for the Yak multi-role line. It's also a necessity for any of the Japanese regular fighter lines, whether it's the Navy or the Army line. Highly recommend. It's well worth your 1 point. What that allows you to do is, instead of utilizing a consumable to put out your fire, which, by the way, you can only use once every 90 seconds, the firefighter skill will allow you to put out a fire every time it happens. And typically it's putting it out quicker than I would even have been able to hit the consumable. It also allows you to use the consumable for something like first aid kit, which I think is really important. It allows your reticle to shrink back down, puts your pilot back in, basically. Putting your pilot back in will allow him to put out the fire, and it'll also allow you for your accuracy to be better. So I highly recommend firefighter skill for this pilot. Other than that, the aerobatics expert is certainly a good choice. Gives you some more maneuverability in that regard. I've gone ahead and put Marksman 1 as my 4th and 5th point, and we'll see where we go from there. I suspect I won't get 2 more points until I've specialized the plane, like just the way that it's going to progress. So I'll probably be going with aerodynamics expert at that point. Once you've specialized the plane, that makes sense. You'll have access to, you'll have access to 2 more slots for the engine and airframe, which will be able to help your speed and maneuverability. Aerodynamics expert really only becomes a great option when you get 3 equipment slots being used for speed and maneuverability. Then that 40% buff really comes into its own. For the other consumable, I have the pneumatic control assist. That's to if I get stuck in a situation that I really need to turn, like if I'm fighting a Spitfire 9 pilot, or an A7M or a Key 84 for that matter. It's really important to try to get the upper hand. Your maneuverability is also close at that range that it's really you know, pneumatic control assist could put you over the top. Also, if they've got pneumatic control assist, you definitely want pneumatic control assist just to keep you on a level playing field. I will almost certainly be putting in emergency control system once I specialize this plane. Again, the bleed system, you'd say to yourself, well, Postal, you said this plane catches on fire. Why wouldn't you put the bleed system in here to reduce the chance of fire? The reason being is because I can mitigate that fire with my firefighter skill point on the pilot, and that way I can use a consumable that's better fit for a fighter and a consumable for the airframe that's better fit for a turn fighter specifically. So that one skill point on the pilot has just saved me 2 consumables. I've got universal ammo on here because it's only 6,000 credits, and why not? Once I specialize the plane, on the engine, I will definitely be taking engine cooling. This plane is so slow that 10 extra seconds worth of boost is almost a necessity. And then, like I mentioned on the airframe, the emergency control system to put the wings and or tail back in will be very, very handy in the future. As we can see here, we've got that one centrally located 23mm cannon, got the 2 synchronized 20mm cannons. Unfortunately, well, let me double check here. I forget if, nope, that's only comes with the Yak-3. And it does look like, so this plane's 20mm cannons can be earned elsewhere if you've already gone down the MiG line. You can get the cannons there. You can also get them on the Lavochkin. They're on the LA-5, which is a very, very nice plane if you haven't gotten that particular plane. And it's also available on the Yak-9U. So there's a bunch of different ways you could get the 23mm cannons. I would actually recommend getting the 23mm cannons as quickly as possible. Overall, I suppose it doesn't really matter, but if you can earn the 20mm cannons on a different line, that'll just make life that much easier. The engine is the engine. It's a Yak. It's not going to go fast no matter what engine, so it's going to be my final recommendation, the last item to fully upgrade. And then you got this plane fully spec'd, and you're able to continue on. The great thing about the Yak-3, possibly even the best thing about the Yak-3, is it goes to the Yak-15 at Tier 8, which is absolutely wonderful Tier 8 turn fighter. There's not a lot of turn fighters at Tier 8, but the Yak-15 is where it's at. Still weakish on the guns, only 2 23mm cannons, but it turns like nobody's business. You finally have a jet, so it actually has some boost, although don't go overboard. It's not like the fastest thing in the world, but it's got boost, and it's just a really, really fun plane and really, really good at holding down a sector. So you've got a good plane to look forward to. If for some reason you've gotten this far on the Yak line and you're not digging it, hopefully the Yak-15 is worth it for you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Unfortunately, it was a loss, but sometimes it's going to happen. When you're in a fighter especially, you need to recognize that sometimes the matchmaker is going to be the matchmaker. Sometimes your bots just aren't going to want to do what they need to do to win the game. And you can control 80% of the sky, but that doesn't mean that you can win a battle. And this was a prime example of that. If this map had anything but a mining facility there, we could have honestly, we would have won this battle. We would have been able to turn it around because I would have been able to take the Yak-3 to another sector and actually capture it. The one sector it can't capture is a mining facility, simply because if your bombers are getting killed in a mining facility, that's because your bombers are up at 10,000 feet. You can't get to 10,000 feet in the Yak-3. And you can't defend against the heavy fighters that are killing your bombers. So you just got to know what you're getting into when you're in a plane like this. Any of the low altitude fighters can be hampered by that. I specifically remember, side note, I remember when my first time I got a ridiculous amount of kills. It was 29 kills. It was actually at Tier 3 in a Soviet I-16E. We lost the battle because I was able to kill all the enemy planes but the human bomber. And he captured sectors that I couldn't do anything about quicker than I could defend them. And I was able to kill everybody but that one guy, and they won simply because he survived. and I wasn't able to do anything about it. So kind of early lesson on Soviet planes, kind of a lesson on the Navy line Japanese fighters. Not such a big issue with the British planes. It's another reason I typically recommend the British fighter line for beginners, because you've actually got some altitude performance in those planes that you are lacking on the Yak fighter line, and for that matter, the Japanese Navy line. Anyway, I hope this was all helpful. What's your feelings on the mid-range Yak fighters? Are they as weak as I make them out to be? Although, again, this plane finally gets some decent guns. Or am I just not playing it right? I'd love to hear your perspective. Also on the Yak-15. I haven't posted a Yak-15 video in quite a while. Yeah, that might be upcoming. It's a really good plane in my opinion, and it certainly leads to two very good planes in the Yak-19 and Yak-30. A lot of people make the argument that the Yak-30 is the best Tier 10 fighter. I don't agree with that, but I can see where they're coming from for sure. Anyway, enough rambling. I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.